But I'm so proud. I love everything about this country except going to the doctor. Do we have any doctors here? I smell some Novocaine. Any doctors? Any nurses? Any doctor's office personnel? Anybody in the medical field? You're scared, huh? You should. Because it's painful to go to the doctor in this country. You're in pain. You call the doctor. Who do you get on the phone? The receptionist who thinks she's a doctor. Yeah, I'm Nazareth. I'm in pain. I need to see the doctor. What's the problem? The problem is you didn't go to medical school. That's a problem. When can I see the doctor? Well, the doctor doesn't see patients on Tuesday. How about tomorrow? We don't know if your insurance covers that. What's my insurance have to do with it? I'm dying here. No, I don't have an HMO. It's not a PPO. It's called a no. When's the next appointment next year? I'll be with the Lord by then. Can I get a second opinion? May I speak to the other receptionist? That's why they have two receptionists. Get a second opinion. I got one 6 months later. I went to the doctor. I forgot what I called him for. But if you cancel, they make you pay for it. So you go, what's the first thing they do? They give you a questionnaire. 400 questions about your family history. Don't fill it out. If you're paying that kind of money to see the doctor, don't give him a clue. He went to school, he should know what's wrong with you. Just write across the form, adopted. Then they put you in that waiting room. There's 200 magazines. You wonder why? Just subscribe to all of them. Because you're going to be done reading all the articles before they move you into the holding tank. You know that small, cold room where they leave you there until you heal. And just to make sure you're not going to leave the room, they make you take your clothes off and wear the robe that's open from the back. I'm going for a sore throat. Why should I take my clothes off? And it's always freezing in that room. You wonder why? Just in case you die and they forget about you, you don't stink till they get you. So you're freezing, humiliated, naked. What do? You open the drawers, look in there. Try all the machines on you. Steal the rubber gloves. Then the door opens and you sit like you're... Doctor, I healed already. Look, I'm great. Let your SBS did not mean it. Went home with their bathroom key in my pocket, with a big piece of wood stuck to it. What, did the guy work for Texaco before? Why? So I called the office. I got the same angry receptionist from 6 months ago. We found the key. It was Nazareth who stole it. I didn't steal it. I took the gloves. Well, you have to bring it right now. There's people waiting here. I don't deliver keys on Tuesday. Tomorrow,
Welcome
I don't know
to Laughter for All. It's the podcast with comedian Nazareth.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I'm comedian Nazareth here in our studios in Corona, California. Wow, it's a great week. I'm very excited this week, and that's why I'm going to get to my guest right away, and then we're going to talk about what we did this last week. But my guest today is a friend of mine. He's a wonderful, great radio personality. Bryan O'Neal was born in Portland, Oregon, and he started doing radio when he was 17, and now he is a morning host of Morning Friends with Brian and Brandy on KSGN from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. He also have a show called I Love This Song, Countdown, and just an amazing man. I love this man. He's a good friend. Bryan, welcome to this show.
Well, thank you for having me today. This is going to be fun, man.
You do this every day, huh?
You make me sound busy, too.
You are.
I do this every day, yeah.
So you get up at what? At 4 in the morning?
4 something in the morning, and you know how you have your alarm set at a certain time, and then 10 minutes later, it's you go off again because you were gonna like snooze a little bit, and then you set another one. So you can have even a little extra time. Yeah, that's what I do. Sometime around 4:30, I get out of bed.
Now, did you sign up for this? When you went into radio, did you know you have to get up at 4 in the morning?
No. Well, no. But actually, when you first start, you work like midnight to 6 anyway.
Oh.
So you do that shift. And, a lot of people do. But, I did sign up for this myself because I like to do my radio thing first thing in the morning when I'm fresh, because I have other duties, and those are like desk duties and administration.
See, people don't see that.
No, when I first came to Southern California to do this, I put myself on in the afternoon, and then I'm like, I am doing all this desk stuff, and by the time my show rolls around, I'm like, my brain's fried. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do the morning. I'm going to do the on-air part first.
Wonderful.
So there I am. Waited, and see, I had no dog in this fight. Okay, I waited until halftime, and I was going, well, I don't know. So it's even. It doesn't look like I'm picking the guys that are ahead. I went, you know what? I think I'll root for Kansas City. My wife reminded me that we watched. There's a show that follows a team all year long, from the beginning to the end of a year, and we had watched it. And so we had seen the coach, and we had seen the guy who. I can't remember his real name now, who was called the Honey Badger. And and I went, oh, yeah, I remember seeing that. So we'll root for them. So I rooted for Kansas City.
This is the only game I watched this year. I'm been busy traveling.
Same here.
But I went. I'll tell you why I went. Number one, I was so happy because New England was not in it. Everybody, even New England were happy they're not in it because people would have hated them more. But I wanted to go for the underdog. Yeah. And this is something I learned from you Americans.
Yeah.
To go for the underdog. And then I was thinking about it, Brian. It's like you only go for the underdog when you don't have any, what do you call it? What's the term said? Like there's no investment in it.
Exactly. That's what I did.
Yeah, let's say you have a surgery and they said, this surgeon, he's not the best. He's the underdog. You haven't had him. You had him. You go, no, I don't want an underdog. See, remember when you say I always root for the underdog. No, you don't. When your life is dependent on it, when your money is involved, I don't think you root for the underdog.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed. First week, I don't have a show that weekend, so I'm sitting, at my friend's house. And thank you all who invited me because I put on Facebook, like, I don't have a place to watch. Because we canceled our cable. Because me and AT&T, Uverse are not friends anymore. I don't like them because they doubled the thing. But it's funny. You give them money. But they tell you how.
I was looking at my own bill. I went, we started that. Wasn't that $69 a month? And now it's $109.
Yes.
And it creates.
Invited me, but then I went to my friend Ryan's home in Anaheim. So there were about like 50, 60 people.
Wow.
The adults were like in the garage with the big screen TV, and I was with the youth. I love to stay with the youth. So I was sitting watching it on the indoor. It's a big screen, but we're watching it. And then the halftime come, and here comes Shakira, and then come J-Lo.
Yeah.
I don't know about you because a lot of people say, "Oh, it was so artistic and so." You know what? I thought it was disgusting.
What they performed there was the kind of things that's usually behind closed doors. It's like, well, you don't want to go there because it's not good for you. It's not good for your mind on where it goes. Yeah, well, that is, what's the word? Degraded our viewing time to putting that stuff on the air nowadays.
Do you think everybody is watching the Super Bowl is a single, with big hormone guy in his early 20s or teenagers? And I was really embarrassed because, the girls were looking. My daughter was sitting too. She's 9. I'm thinking, what is, from their perspective, I'm sitting, because I used to do youth pastoral for youth. And I'm looking, I'm like, this girl is looking, going, you know what? I'll never live up to that. I will never, get to that level. Also, if that's what all the guys are appreciating, and those were, I have no chance in this.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, Naz, you're old-fashioned, you're this. But you know what? I used to teach young youth, and they get anxieties, and they get stuff because of that. They feel, hey, oh, if this is what the world appreciates and loves. What's your thought on that? What do you think?
It's pretty much the same thing. I turned to my wife and I said, am I just too old? I mean, come on. This is not. First of all, artistically dancing. Well, yeah, they're good dancers and whatnot.
Yeah, you've been practicing, and they paid you a lot to do it.
Do you need to put in the skin and the stuff that most people, like I say, used to go to a club a long time? I'm sure they probably still do, as a matter of fact. But that was the kind of thing. If you're going to see that stuff, you go to that club where it's all dark and nobody can see you and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Putting it on television, and I have a friend, love him, but he said, well, what'd you expect? It's not a family-friendly show. And I would disagree. I would say all kinds of families get together to watch the football game. And, yeah, there are little kids. I mean, I can think of my own son with his grandkids.
Yes.
And they're big football fans, and they watch it as a family. Little kids, little 6-year-olds and whatnot.
Yes.
So to put that in front of them, come on.
And there was, if you want to join the conversation, you can. Where you can just call in 712-775-8984. We're going to have it in the comments. 712-775-8984. And enter 205492. 205492. Tell us what you get. Because I have some friends that say, oh, that was great. No, it was not great. There was a time where this rapper was rubbing himself against her and just like acting like.
Exactly.
That's pornographic. I'm sorry. If you think it's okay, then your mind became so adjusted to watch. I hope our entertainment, people who produce entertainment, will get to a level where there's a quality. You don't have to kill someone or show a naked woman or someone doing these moves publicly to make it entertainment.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we've just, I don't know, I guess we've slowly accepted it. Is that what we've done over time? That they feel like, oh, we've degraded enough. I don't think they call it degraded. We do, though.
Yeah.
We've degraded enough to where, people are going to like this. Well, no, not all of us. No.
Now, next year, they got to top it. So how far can you go without, there's no more television say you can do that.
And here's one of the points that my friend said, well, you just turn it off. And, well, yeah, and we're going to have to just turn it off because, for one, the ratings will tell if they get ratings where the halftime show is like nobody's watching anymore. The question is will it ever get to that point? Will there ever be enough decent people turning it off that would make a difference, or does that thing just grow? I don't know.
I know what you're saying. Hopefully someone will get an idea. Like, people are not going to watch this, so therefore your commercials are not going to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, so being on Christian radio, and doing a morning show, you have to be encouraging. You have to be positive. You cannot be sharing some of these things, right?
Well, yeah. Let's talk about that. We had this kind of discussion even this morning on the air. This is the off-air kinds of discussions, and we were all in agreement that as talented. See, there are talented people who do. These nasty things.
Right.
As talented as they are, what they presented, we have these conversations, and then we get on the air. And our job on the air at KSGN is to bring hope and be positive and give people, some humor. So we don't bring these things into that arena. They are real, and we'll talk with anybody about our feelings about it. But our job is to give hope and to play the songs of the artists that are writing about Jesus. And our job is to present that in what it is, embracing hope and what's the word I'm looking for? Just sharing Jesus with people. Right. So we're not going to get in and start going, hey, did you see that? Now this is it. We want to be a little bit more positive. But what I love about you having me here today, we can talk about those things.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
And it's the reality. We are living in a fallen world. Okay, so we can talk about that kind of stuff here. And but yeah, that's
And that's
my
what this podcast about. We want to be real. We want to be funny. We want to be real. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, what is so funny? If J-Lo and this rapper did the same thing, like two people did the same thing in public at a different place,
yeah
would that fly? Would people say, "Oh, that's so artistic"?
yeah no
Eh, I don't know. I actually after a few minutes I got up and left. I'm just
Yeah.
like I can't see this anymore. You know, as a comedian, you go, I want to see what the half show is about, and then I'm having all this, and there's a lot of teenagers. So I got up and looked, and everybody looked at me. I go, I'm not gonna put this garbage in my head,
yeah exactly.
and I laughed.
I think I got up and cut vegetables around that time.
You cut vegetables.
It was a no junk food Super Bowl, and I was cutting vegetables yesterday.
So when you are in Christian radio and you get callers, I know people call and all. By the way, I was saved because of Christian radio because
Yeah.
they were doing like a contest calling. If you want to become a Christian, be caller number 7, and I did.
Oh, yeah.
No, and I
We're
was
giving
saved.
away Christianity.
Yeah, Christianity, salvation. So no,
Only
I'm
the
just
ninth
kidding.
caller, though.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you're a
everybody
loser.
else, you can go to hell. But
All right, let's
but-
go.
So, have you ever got people who were like they were mean? They said bad things. Are you guys live? When you're live, do you have like a 7-second delay?
We record every single call. So
Oh.
while the songs are playing is when we're actually doing more of our work, because you can't just can't let anything over the air. You can't take a call and go put it on the air. You don't know what's coming.
Right.
So they're all recorded, and then not only is there that, but we edit down the calls, one for clarity, one for time, and the other, if anybody says something really off, it's like, well, we're just not going to play that one.
Right.
So we have the ability to control everything that goes on the air. So
Any crazy calls? What do you remember? Anything that?
well,
stuck?
you know, we get the crazy we get some crazy folks who hear you wrong. They misunderstood what you said, and now instead of saying, "Well, I'm going to call that Christian station and say, did you say what I thought you said? Because I thought you." No, they'll go, "You said this." Totally wrong.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how you can be a Christian and say that, and they just rip you.
Without even knowing you didn't say that.
Well, yeah, because they thought they heard that. Or they were listening to another station and they called you. And you know what? I'm patient with those people. I like to take confrontation like that and ask questions instead of going, "No, you're not, you're not." I go, "Can you tell me what's on your dial right now? What does it read?" You know, sometimes if they're on the wrong station, they will read out, 89.2. Okay, we're 89.7, so it's not us, but thank you.
Thank you for calling. How did you get my
Or
number?
some people will have a certain point of view, a certain self-righteous point of view. And again, I'm not going to attack them. I'm going to ask them, but does that mean this? Is that what you're saying? And most of the times, I'm able to have a nice conversation. We might still disagree, but I'm able to have a nicer conversation with them by asking them, "Okay, is this what you think I said?" Now, if and sometimes when I do say something they disagree with, I'm going to say, "But here's my logic on it. What's yours?" And I try not to have any
Right.
bad conversations.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I know with this whole, like with Kobe.
yeah.
Kobe kind of united people for a while, for a
Yeah.
change, because everybody was divided. Kobe and the Super Bowl kind of, well, it's divided to 2 teams only, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice. So I didn't want to come here and talk about this, halfway and say, hey, if you disagree, we don't want more division. But at the same time, I want to hear a Christian who thought it was great. That's what bothers me.
Oh, who thought the
that nothing was wrong with the with the half show.
here,
Everything.
go on my
Really?
go on my connections on Facebook.
Where is it? So
There's
people can look at it.
I'm on Facebook. It's just
Facebook.
Bryan O'Neal.
Bryan O'Neal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know if they're going to get all of the feeds I get.
Oh,
okay,
I
unless
see.
I share with that person. I'm watching it and I'm not commenting too much back and forth on it.
Right.
But I am watching people talk about how talented they were, and just that we've got this diametrically opposed things going on here. Some of them are talking about, and by the way, these are church people. who are saying, and mostly they're women. Well, look how they empowered women. They showed
Empowered? They humiliated them.
And at the same time, one of the biggest problems, in the world, but also especially during Super Bowl time at that location, the sex trafficking of women. Well, women and
yes, I heard about
too.
that. Yeah, before the Super Bowl.
On one hand, we're saying, don't be, the Me Too movement. Don't be looking at women as sexual fantasies. On the other hand, let's put it in the halftime of the Super Bowl. These things don't marry very well. And like I say, I'm seeing it from people who I'll call churched because they claim that they go to church, but they are accepting of this because somehow it shows how strong the women are.
I didn't see
at the same time, I have one of my friends. She's in radio back in the Midwest. She's going, I never saw any NC-17 rating on this to warn us on how lewd it was going to be. So wherever you go, even in churchdom, I'll call it, you're going to get those two differing opinions.
And this is not an age like you guys are older. That's why. No, it has nothing to do with age.
I am
There's
old.
young people. Well, considerably. I'm metric, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah, I'm 22 metric. But, here's a question for you before I ask you about Christian radio, where it changed and stuff. But one time I was listening to Christian radio, and a person walked by it and became static. Is he satanic or demonic or no? Because when he walked by it, the whole thing, like
the rays and everything like that,
Yeah.
I don't know. That might have been a Holy Spirit thing from some people.
And here's a question. Of course, you know it before they said, if you're a radio DJ and you go under a bridge, does your voice go away?
It does.
In fact,
I become quiet until we come out the other side.
One time, didn't your voice go, you had a mini stroke right on the air?
I did, actually, yeah.
Tell us about that. I mean, that's funny to me, but it's horrible to everybody else.
Funny.
Oh, there's a caller. Well, before we get that, let's take the call. Maybe it's about the poll.
All right.
Yes. Hello? Who's this? Okay. Hello, this is Nazareth. Who am I talking to?
Oh, hi, Nazareth. This is Chris Rossetti in San
My
Francisco.
my favorite caller. Chris Rossetti, how are you?
Real good. I would just like to share what I felt was two things I felt were most offensive about yesterday's Super Bowl. One was the fact that my Niners got beat.
That's right. You live in the Bay Area.
You're just going to have to deal with that.
I'm sorry. That's right. We forgot. Sorry about that.
That was extremely offensive. The other offensive thing was the ticket prices.
The ticket price.
Well, I was hearing, anywhere from $2,500 to $11,000 to, I guess, whatever the market will bear. What did you hear about the prices that you saw?
Yeah, I heard around the $1,500, star price.
Wow.
And
in my country, for $1,500, you get to play. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. That's right, Chris. You're in San Francisco. And how the people feeling? Were they upset in the streets and all that, or no? They didn't care.
Well, actually, they still shot off their fireworks because they had invested in them. So.
Well, yeah, you got to do something.
Oh, they.
Hey, the team played. Here we go.
Yeah, we made it. We almost won.
That's funny.
That last touchdown was questionable. They said. Wow. Well, wonderful.
So I have a question for your guest.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a 63-year-old community college freshman, and I'm studying broadcast and announcing. What advice would you give to somebody looking at a broadcast career, perhaps in radio or internet radio or something like that?
Well, especially with internet radio, that's where you can just get started now. Okay, if you're talking about radio stations that do hiring, there is less and less of that available. I'll create a position one of these days pretty soon for somebody, but it is all brought down to a lot of automation, and that can be good and bad. You can run a radio station without having to be there. And I guess what I'm saying is the amount of jobs available, very few these days. There's not going to be any. But with internet radio, great place to get started if you want to get started and practice. In fact, when I got started, you know how we would practice? My friend who had got into the business right before me, we're driving down the road, we're listening to the radio, and a song starts, and you start being the DJ in your car. while talking over and trying to,
This
hone your
next song coming
skills.
to you. And
Yeah, exactly. And we did that all the time until you actually got a point where then I worked in the production studio where, I'd go in midnight to 6 and play radio in the other room while the real guy was on the air. Internet radio gives you the ability to start it right now. You just go on one of those sites and you can do, So I would say start practicing there. You must be doing something in your community college then. You're doing an on-air thing.
Yeah, we're going to be doing several things like that, and more importantly, I think I'm headed for the voiceover end of things. Actually, lastly, thank you for your advice. Lastly, can you get me Nazareth's autograph? I've been trying to get it for years. Have a great day. Thank you for
He's
taking my
charge
call.
me.
Love you, Chris. Thank you. Anytime, man. What do you call it? So you've been in radio since you were 17.
Yeah, I think actually might be 16. but
16.
Whatever.
What have changed from when radio you started? Because back then there was no Pandora, there was no what do you call it, XM radio. There was nothing that you pay for.
There had to be somebody at the radio station 24/7 because we used 45 records and albums, 33 and a third albums, and you had to put each one of them on, drop the needle on it, cue it up. Start the record. You had every, let's say, average of 3 minutes, you were on. You had to do something. So in kind of in the long run between, they used to put that on tapes, which looked like the old 8 tracks, and then there was CDs, and then, of course, we have automation that all the music's on a file now. That's been a big change, and the idea that you can voice track a show, I do it, our show that plays Friday night.
What do you mean by voice track?
Well, like our countdown show, I am. Brandy and I sit there in a studio, kind of like you and I are doing right now. Okay, and we have the list of the show, and the songs, and I will go, welcome back. Welcome back to I love this song. You're with Brian, and she goes, and I'm Brandy, and we're gonna count them down for you, and that's all just recorded on. I was going to say tape. I was going to say tape.
That's cheating in Christian radio.
Yes,
you can't
it is.
do that.
Yeah.
We thought you were live when you say I'm back with this.
I'm live in the morning. I'm not there Friday night at 7 and Saturday and Sunday at noon. So it's a show we've created to play a couple times over the weekend. So that would be pre-recorded.
Okay.
We call it voice tracking it. So we do our part, and then we put the songs in with it. We sort of marry or record the songs in with it so that it can play back several times and we don't have to go in 3 times on the weekend.
So before, when you used to use the LPs and the tracks, what if one is scratched and you...
Oh, yeah, it'd be live on the air.
It'd be live on the
air. Yeah, you bump the turntable, it jumped, sometimes they're scratched. And this is one of those little known things that records used to get Q burns on them. And I don't know if you can remember
this.
this.
Burn?
Q
burn.
burn.
You
we
play them a lot?
We would put the record down, put the tone arm on it, and you move it back and forth till you hear the sound, okay? And then you back it up a tiny bit, and the turntables were such fast starters that you'd hit it, and it's like starts right at the beginning, period. But the more you go back and forth to cue it, it would go before you heard this. So anyway, that's just one of those little known things that's not around anymore.
So you think, people still, I still listen to radio in the morning.
Oh, yeah, and your question was about those services versus what we're doing.
Yeah, like Pandora and Spotify.
They're very popular, and everybody's been telling us that it's the end of our radio. Mm-hmm. Well, for one, it's a subscription, okay? You're going to be paying a certain amount. Number 2, you're going to get all the music that you want when you want it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. What some people are missing, and what we bring to the table is something between the songs. Now, that means you better be pretty good. You better be compelling so that people want to hear what you have to say also. And that's what we bring along. That's the difference between radio. And by the way, it's free. First, maybe you got to buy a radio, right? Yeah. But it's free. It's out there in the airwaves. And we're there to bring something besides just the music.
Right.
Maybe a little entertainment, maybe a little, spiritual insight with our Christian radio station. Maybe something fun. I love the fun and funny stuff.
What I like about your station, KSGN, they have kids sing the national anthem every morning.
Every morning, yeah.
And it's just amazing. I love that. And one time you were on the radio, and you had a stroke.
Oh, yeah. That was right after
2016, I think.
It was 15. It was January. No, it was February. It was almost this week, first or second week of February. Here's the background: is I had some throat cancer. One of my 13 surgeries. I
Okay,
think.
your job is to be a radio DJ, and you have how many surgeries in your throat?
Well, the throat, I had two surgeries. And then they poked around in there with a needle, which, for a guy who uses his voice, I really didn't like that. I was losing my voice. Oh, man, there's so much of this is intertwined. Because I had already had a mini stroke a while back, a year before this moment we're going to talk about, they did a CAT scan of my carotid and all that to see if, let's make sure that, everything's clear there. And then they went, well, that looks pretty good, but we noticed you've got a mass growing on your thyroid. And then a couple of months later, we noticed it grew 2 centimeters. And it was affecting my voice an awful lot and pushing on my vocal cords. So then they decided it needed to come out. So we took it out. And then a week later, they had told me with a biopsy before they took that out that there's no cancer there. Then they took it out, and then they sent it to the lab. Doctor calls back, I had it done on a Thursday. He called back the next Wednesday, and he goes, you and me are going to do that dance again tomorrow because that thyroid and that mass had 3 types of cancer, and one of them was a real bad boy. So I went back in. I do everything in twos, even my heart surgeries, and took it out. And I was like, man, I'm going on a mission trip. I need time to heal. I went to the mission trip. I was kind of okay. I was okay, really. Then I came back, and we were starting to do a fundraiser for Compassion International.
Right.
And I was on the air with my friend Bill, who comes in from Compassion and does that, and Melissa. Brandy was off that day. And I'm talking, and something happens with my speech. I didn't think much about it because it had happened before. The mission trip was to Bolivia. On the way back, Melissa and I ended up staying in New York for like a whole day to get some rest because we were like flying forever. And I remember meeting her in the elevator, and we were making plans to go somewhere in New York that night. And I said, "So do you want to meet?" And I went, "Oh, it was 13 degrees outside." And I said, "Look at this. My face is frozen. I can't even talk."
Oh. Okay.
I did not know that was another one of those mini strokes at the time. I thought, well, it's so cold. My jaw is frozen, whatever. Same thing happened on the air. And so I'm talking, this is my friend Bill Scott from Compassion. And as I listened back to that, I wish I could have brought it along for you to play. As I listened back to that, I'm going, you can clearly tell something is wrong with me. This is the first thing in the morning, too. And I didn't know what to think of it. And someone who's now become a really good friend, I call her my angel, she hit me up on my Facebook private message. And she goes, "Bryan, I think you're having a stroke. You need to take this seriously." And then I went, oh, yeah. Because I knew I had a couple of TIAs. That TIA, temporary. Anyway, I don't know what the word. Temporary ischemic attack is what it is, and it affected my speech, and it went away. But I went to the hospital, so I drove myself.
And you had 2 heart attacks or 1?
I had 1 heart attack back in 2000. Okay, let me see. I had 1 heart attack, and basically they've been inside my heart, either catheter. To place stents or a 4-way bypass 10 times. 10 times since 2000. Yeah. I just had another one in June. I had 2 heart surgeries in June on the weekend, one Friday night and the other on Monday. Monday is the one they fixed me, and the one that Friday was was that Saturday? I think it was Saturday, was the one where it's the doctor we don't ever want to see. I don't even know his name.
Really?
I don't want to know his name. It's a cardiologist that just was too rough. I mean, when you've had already 8 cath lab experiences, and they've all gone well, and you have one extremely horrible one, you know the difference.
Yeah.
And in fact, I told him before the next one, it's like, I do not want that guy. I don't know who he is, but he's horrible. That's all I'm going to say about that.
So each one, like you have a different, this is Dr. So-and-so, this is Dr. So-and this, that.
Yeah.
So, you never stopped. I mean, you can't tell you've even had one surgery. So you had cancer in your throat, you had heart surgeries, and you're still going very, very strong. Praise God.
Yeah.
And where was your faith at in that?
You know what? You just take it as it comes. I mean, that's what I've done. I mean, people go, man, I can't believe that you know all that stuff that's going wrong with you and it's not affecting you. And I said, you know what the thing is? I know what's going wrong with me. You could drop tomorrow because you don't know what your arteries look like.
That's
It scares them a little bit, but there's so many people. Here's what I wonder. Wow, why me? Why me? 10 heart surgeries, 5 stents, four-way bypass, probably 3 or 4 TIAs, and the throat cancer. Well, and the motorcycle wreck was kind of my own fault.
Yeah.
I hit the brakes too quick.
And all that because of this hard job you do is
Yeah,
sit there and talk to people. I mean, people are doing this, all this
Exactly.
mining and going, like cutting woods.
I see these guys digging the ditches.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing. When I was in high school, I worked for Pastor Orville Spencer. He moved.
Orville, I haven't
Orville,
heard that name in a while.
He moved a block away and was adding on to a house, and he needed, what was I, 15, 16, something like that. He needed someone to help dig the plumbing lines in the yard and do this and that. And I went,
Not me.
I'm going to help out the pastor here because it's $1.25 an hour or whatever it was. But this is not going to be my life. So
that talked you
who knows?
right away.
Maybe one of those guys is healthier than me.
Oh man,
So-
that's funny. What do you call it? So you're always like, when being a radio personality, you go to concerts and you're always
Yeah.
back in the green room with all the artists and stuff. Who's
Yeah.
your favorite?
Oh, who is my favorite? That's hard. I'm more connected to someone like Jeremy Camp or Toby Mac. And Josh from I'm going to just name everybody. Josh from the Afters.
I love those guys.
Yeah, they're genuine people. They're nice. Here's what I'm going to tell on Josh just a little bit because when they first came out, the Afters first came out. I had 11 months at a radio station in Spokane between when I left Air One and came here, and the Afters were putting out their first hit, and they came and did a showcase for us. One of those free things we're going to do a showcase, and we just clicked at that point. And then I saw him, the convention we do in Orlando every year. I saw him like a year or two later after the sessions, people stand around talking, and some of the artists are just hanging out.
Yeah.
And I went up and I thought, well, he's kind of busy talking, so I guess maybe I'll just won't interrupt. That happens a lot there too.
Yeah.
And so I decided to leave the room. I'm right by the door, and I got this tap on my shoulder. Josh had noticed that I wanted to, have something to say with him.
Wow.
And he chased me down, and we spent a good 10 minutes chatting. See, these people are genuine
right.
folks. Jeremy
a lot of
Camp,
them. I'll tell you what. I work with all these guys. People
Yeah.
think comedy. Every year I worked with Jeremy last year. I worked with Mercy Me. I worked with Casting Crowns. All of them. Matthew West, Newsboys, and we talk. And I remember one time Jeremy Camp was heading to the bus, and so we were in the artist tent, and I walked to him and I said, Jeremy, that was several years ago. I go, Jeremy, he goes, what? I said, your kids will grow fast. Trust me.
Yeah,
I have my John grows. You don't want to be gone a lot. He goes, Dad, don't say that right now.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I have a big tour starting. I said, I know, but just keep that in mind. The after, when they were starting, I remember the first, I came to him and said, you guys are great. You're going to do great and all that. And then they went down and then went back up. And
yeah,
all that.
sometimes it gets a little cyclical. Yeah,
And
it
I
does.
know you're friends with Toby Mac. And
Yeah.
he lost his son. That was hard.
That was hard because, you're not so close that you're really a part of the family,
Right.
but they feel a part of the family. And and you know, you can kind of feel Toby's pain. And I got to tell you what, man, going through, we don't know his private thoughts, and I know they're probably really heart-wrenching. But all you can do is just say, you know what, I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know his song that he wrote because of that, out
Yeah.
of that tragedy. You know what happened in Corona last week? We had the three,
the
you know,
wreck.
they were the wreck. There was 6 kids. I don't know if you heard the story. 6 teenagers from church.
Yeah.
Great kids. And they were just playing ditch, you know, ding
Ding
dong
dong ditch.
and they think it was the wrong house or something. And this guy just went out, and he was so mad. He followed them in his car, and he rammed their car, and so they hit a tree. 3 kids died.
Yeah.
And we were at the funeral last Tuesday at Crossroads. They did it because it's 3,000 people, all believers. The last message they heard at North Point Church, where they
Yeah.
attend, was about get your house in order. You know, just you don't know when eternity can happen to you. It was
Oh,
really
yeah.
shocked. And they played that song, and man, the words.
They're
it was
just something, you know, a
yeah.
father's heart. And I know another friend who lost a child right around that same time, just a few weeks ago, and I played that song for him when we debuted it. I made sure to mention him, and he lost his daughter, and you know, he said that helped. And man, if we can just help in a little bit of way of spreading some compassion, of coming around and put your arm around him somehow, and yeah.
It cost, you know, Toby Mac to lose his child to have something that would bless. I mean, it kind of heal some people or help them out through that. I mean, nothing can heal. I pray I'd never be.
I don't
want to
wanna-
go before my kids, before my wife. I don't want my wife to. I would die.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah.
How long you been married?
We're going to hit 35 years in October.
35 years.
Yeah, 35 years.
Wonderful. And you have 3 children.
3 kids. My son Jordan is, he just turned 31 last week.
Oh.
Interesting thing about okay, there's Jordan and Mackenzie's 28 and Madison's 22. Interesting thing about having Jordan. Jordan was born on the day of my dad's funeral. I did not go to my dad's funeral.
Oh.
We were in the hospital, and my dad had cardiovascular. He died of a stroke like 3 days before. Oh, there's another thing I got to talk about that because it just went by. Did not go to the hospital because we're having a baby. Well,
Yeah.
and Jordan actually didn't, get born until 9 p.m. And so, but we were there at the hospital that entire
Have
day.
you ever? Did you do that when your wife was having birth? And now, your next child is
know.
coming out. It's his first time out in the world, and
Coming into the world at
at
9:06
7
p.m.
pounds.
It's, what's his name again?
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yes, please welcome Jordan. Oh,
Hey, I have something to talk about
Yes.
because my dad died on it was a Sunday night. I believe it was the 23rd of January, 1989, and this has to do with God's grace, an 11th hour. Do you remember? Well, 2020 just had a thing on it. The serial killer Ted Bundy.
yes,
Okay.
I remember Ted Bundy.
Dr. James Dobson went to visit, and I believe there's video of him with Ted Bundy. I think he was looking for insights, but he said he led Ted Bundy, serial killer for so many years, so many people, led him to the Lord like a day or so before the execution day. Meaning, where is Ted Bundy?
In heaven.
Yeah. Now,
Ooh.
here is my addition to it. My dad became a Christian somewhere around 16, 17. Good Christian guy all of his life. Spread the word, was compassionate with people, he was a Christian guy. He died just hours before the execution of this serial killer. So you've got a guy who has been with God all that time, going to heaven, and you've got a guy that's in the very last minute. They both went to see Jesus at the same day.
But I think the rewards are different. I personally
they're
think
what?
they're different levels of
Well, there are, but there's forgiveness. I mean, forgiveness is forgiveness.
Forgiveness, right.
And I like to point out that it's never too late to turn around.
Yeah, that's
That's
amazing.
part of my thing.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's just like, wow, there's a guy who was the worst of the worst in the world, and he got into heaven.
But look what influence they left on earth.
Well, that's true.
One left so much heartache and pain, and one, you know,
Yeah.
had a child like you, and blessed. I'm sure he blessed so many people.
And in God's eyes, that was forgiven. Can we forgive like that?
No.
We're not.
I can't forgive. You know, it's hard. We say we forgive. We forgive until people do it again.
The second time
And
or
you
the
go,
third
man,
time.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
But if you just think, well, it's too late for me, it's never too late.
Speaking of forgiveness, you know, at that funeral, at that Tuesday, they prayed for the guy who
Yeah.
rammed the kids and caused their death.
That
They
takes
prayed
some
for him.
that takes some strength to get to get to that point where you go, okay, I got to pray for the guy who caused all this mess. I got to pray for the guy who took my child, basically.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I could do that, but I'll bet. Let me be real honest. I'll bet it'll be a process from here to there
Yeah.
that won't be very pretty. Okay.
That's right. That's right. So you drive an El Camino. What year?
1971.
They're still around.
El
Those
Camino.
cars came.
Yeah.
1971 El Camino.
Yeah, and it's going up for sale in like a month or so. I mean,
Really?
I've been talking about
Now
selling
you were
it.
trying to sell your house in Big Bear, right?
Well, I'm actually closer than that. I'm up near Crestline, up
Crestline.
the 18.
I'll tell you what. Since this is my podcast
Yeah.
and I don't have any radio rules,
Yeah.
tell us about your house if someone is listening and wants to buy it.
Well,
What is it?
Well, it's got like I don't know 60 or 70 trees. Well, there was until we cut 12 of them down. Had a bunch of dead trees. We live in the mountains. It's a small community called Cedar Pines Park. It's like three miles west of Crestline and Lake Gregory.
And how high up are you?
That's one of the reasons I started to thinking about selling it before. I'm about 4,850 feet. So yeah, Thanksgiving and Christmas, tons of snow, tons.
Oh, okay.
We've never gotten that much in the 5 years I've been there. But one of the things about heart patients is
You need the oxygen.
you need to be able to breathe the air.
Yeah.
And was going to sell it, and then I thought, well, I mean, you know, trust me, the price is up the hill. You can find some pretty expensive places, but they're pretty cheap. I mean, we're going to sell ours probably low 200s. Are you ready for that? Low 200s.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
in
bought
Southern California.
Yeah, in Southern
And
California.
how much did you pay for it when you bought it?
123. In
Low
the middle of
200.
see when we had all that problem of the downturn in the economy and everything,
Right.
the houses market was like
Tell me about it.
squashed.
I still did not recover.
Okay.
I still did not recover.
I was renting at the time, and we wanted to live up there because it reminds me of the Pacific Northwest, and you're living amongst the trees. But people were having to dump their vacation homes, just get out of them. We went through one. It was a 3-bedroom place, furnished. It's like, we're not taking any of the furniture. $99,000.
Wow.
And it's actually a few blocks from where I am. At the time, people were going, I got to get out of this thing. And so the prices were great back then. The market has gone way up. My wife said, there's somebody selling a 1-bedroom home up here for $209. I went, well, that's good for us.
That's good. Yeah.
So, two things. I was going to sell it a couple years ago because of breathing.
Right.
And I decided I could put up with that a while because prices down the hill are astronomical. And now I don't have an exact date for you, but I'm looking at retirement.
Really?
When I was on the operating table, not thinking I was going to live through the first surgery, then having to have the second surgery where a blood clot let loose. That cardiologist, I don't even know his name. It was wonderful. The first one,
Terrible.
But some blood clot went through my heart, and it was pain like you can't believe for about 5 hours. I didn't think I was going to live, and I went, you know what? I'm going to have to retire. First of all, if I live through this, I'll retire.
You had 10 heart surgeries. Are you going to live through this?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
going to live forever.
So
what is the plan? What are you thinking?
The plan is we're going to sell everything. Like
Okay.
tomorrow, I've got another RV, by the way. I have 2 RVs.
You have to. Why do you have 2 RVs?
Now, that's a pretty good question because I'm impulsive. So here's the deal. I decided, how How old am I now? 64 and a half.
You are?
Yeah, I'll be
Can't even
65.
tell.
I'll be 65 in June.
Are you serious?
Nobody thinks I'm this old.
No,
Born
you're
in
not.
June
It's
25.
those heart surgeries and the cancer
Yeah.
that keep you look fresh and young.
Everybody says, "Man, you look great." I said, "Yeah, on the outside," but ask the doctors who've been inside. But so I figured a couple of years before retirement age, I would spend the money to buy an RV because we want to travel a lot, and that way I take some of the money out of my retirement, and now I've got 2 years of earning money to put it back. Instead of where a lot of people save, and then they have to spend a big bundle on retirement, or they, get into big payments, and it's like, no, I'm gonna own that thing first before retirement and put money back over the next couple of years.
So
that's our plan.
Yeah.
When I was 20 years old, first of all, we were looking for, again, classic cars. I have a classic RV, 1978 GMC motorhome.
Wow. They have classics on those too?
They have classics, yeah. And there's kind
Is
of
the mattress classic too?
We are going to change that. Okay, let me get up. So I'm looking for this GMC motorhome, and they're being snatched up. They're a collector item. And finally, I'm looking on all of the different Craigslist because people will buy those cheap from somebody, and then they'll turn around and sell them for more. Yeah. And I'm looking in Arizona, and I see instead of a GMC motorhome, I'd only put in the 3 words GMC, and I found a GMC 1957 4104 model bus. When I was 20 years old, I went on the road with my uncle's show band out of Columbus, Ohio. They taught me.
Your uncle?
Yeah, my uncle was the manager of a show band, and they were an ensemble of. Yeah. They opened up with state and county fairs. Like we played with Loretta Lynn. Okay, you know that name. Yeah. Grandpa Jones, whoever, Tony Bennett, even. You're the opening act. Okay. Yeah. I traveled with him for 6 months. I learned to run sound there, and I learned to ride to drive a bus like that. So I fell in love with it, and I said, well, why a motorhome when I can have a bus?
That's right. I toured on bus for several tours, and it's like a house.
It kind of is. And so I bought it. And and then we'd gone out to the desert a couple of times, just go out there on the free BLM land, park overnight, look at the stars and everything. And my wife finally goes, because it's a big old 4-speed, and you have to double clutch those things if you've ever done that. You put the clutch in, first you let it out, go to first gear, you put it in, you pull it halfway back towards neutral, let it out, put it in. So it's double clutching.
Double clutching.
And it's a little hard to shift those old buses. And my wife goes, given the fact that I'm not the healthiest guy in the world, she goes, we're on the road and anything happens to you, I'll be stuck. I won't be able to drive this bus. We'll let that sink in for a couple more weeks, and it was mentioned again. And I went, okay, you know what? You're right. We'll sell the bus. I don't think I'm going to lose money on it. No. Guy's coming tomorrow from Delaware, by the way, to buy it.
From Delaware?
Yeah. And
so you're not going to lose money on it?
I'm not going to lose money on it. I will just barely make a few hundred. But then I went, okay, well, let's go back to the kind of that you can drive. The GMC motorhome. It was designed.
Is it the round one?
It's that round one with all the windows.
Without windows.
Well, no, with all the windows.
With all the windows, yeah.
You're like a fishbowl up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. And so I said, okay, I'll go get more retirement money. We'll get that. And then we'll put that bus up for sale. It's taken a while. But so it's going tomorrow. But I'm selling everything. All the assets. So the bus is going. Right after that, the El Camino is up for sale. I got to clean up some, fix it up a little bit.
If you want to buy a 71 El Camino.
Yeah. And the house. The house is going to go on the market.
And you're going to use that RV or buy a better RV?
We'll use this one because of it's got a big cult following. There's about 8,000 and 9,000 of them still on the road. They are a collector item, and there's a community of people. Like if you get you get stuck somewhere, they have a list. You go online. There's a list of people. Oh, he's in my area. I heard of people coming hundreds of miles to help a guy with a part, put it on, and then drive home and didn't charge at all. There's a great community. It's a great community of people out there traveling and helping each other out. It's a whole different world.
That's a great thing to hear.
And we want to join it. And so we will travel full time until I have to settle down. And we don't know when that'll be.
Where would be your first stop?
Well, depends on, I think if we go a year, Probably toward Florida. Okay. I do want to get up into Alaska, but you have to do that from what I'm seeing of other RV people. You got to go like mid-June and get out of there before September. And then you'd probably be, cool without,
you have
getting
to go
stuck.
through Canada, right?
You got to go through Canada. Yeah, that's okay. I have Canadian friends, so that probably helps.
So in closing, I mean, I love it. We can talk. I can't believe the hour has gone.
It's just crazy.
Anything funny stories in your mission trips, in your photography, in your radio. And then I want you to encourage the people, the listeners, because some people are going for a stent right now, or they think they have some kind of cancer, and you're just like, we've been tons of these surgeries, and you're doing great.
Melissa Chavez at work used to call me 9 Lives. And I went, Melissa, I think we're up to 14. And that's not a thing. 14 lives is not a thing. 9 lives is. Yeah. Funny stuff. I don't know. I just love to have fun on the air. I injured. Well, that's not. I'm not sure if that's funny.
If it doesn't come to you, it's just. I know the show's called Laughter for All, but I love talking real things, real life.
I got something for you.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about cancer, so this goes way back. I'm a little clumsy, for one.
Me too. I just hit my elbow and bleeding.
Way back in the 90s, I was actually working for K-Love before it got more famous around the nation. And I was to MC a concert in San Jose area. And the concert was a group called, is it Till Tuesday or Tuesday something? It's 2 gals.
Yeah.
And then there was a gal named Cindy Morgan and another guy. Anyway, I'm to introduce these 2 gals right up front. Big church and no windows. It's in one of those industrial areas. No windows. So there is a spotlight. You've been that where it's right there.
Oh,
You can't even see down there.
You can't see anything.
Okay. So I'm, taking it in stride. I'm talking and I go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I don't know, Tuesday something. Anyway, and I turn to walk back because the band is set up around there, and I'm going to walk between them. There's drums over here. There's something here. There's something there. And they shut off the spot because they want the gals to come out and then hit them with a spot, and they want me to disappear. Well, I turn and walk backwards. The gals are coming out, total pitch black. Nobody saw this at all. Boom.
They hit you.
Well, I walked into them. And here I am, like, now trying to figure out how to get off in what direction. And I'm sure I nearly knocked the wind out of one of the gals. And their music track had already started.
Oh.
So they got to sing, like, in 4 seconds. It's one of those funny things that nobody ever saw but me.
No, I know how it feels because we do that when I do emceeing for the big festivals. Sometimes that happens. Encouraging story to people.
You know what? Just keep going. Just trust God. Like I said, people wonder, how can you deal with that? I don't think about it. I could complain. I could go and say, oh, wow, woe is me. I've got this. I've had 10 heart surgeries. I had like 3 or 4 TIAs. I had that stroke on the air. I had the motorcycle wreck. I had blah, 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 blah. I'm not in control of any of it. And by worrying about any of it at all, I'm not going to lengthen my days. So just go, okay, this is another thing to get through. And whatever it is, if it's health or if it's just some other thing and job, it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to get through this and we'll see what happens.
That's a great encouragement.
I'm just
going to get through this and see what happens. Because you're right. I've known you for years. We're friends. I've never seen you complain about anything.
Nah. Yeah. Well, if you're around with my kids, never mind.
Yeah, I know.
No, but with these kinds of things, I'm here on God's time. And I am absolutely amazed that I'm still here, too.
Now, how can people listen to you? I love KSGN Radio. How can people listen to you? And number 2, if people want to buy your car or your Camino or your house, how can they get a hold of you?
I'm at KSGN. Okay, KSGN.com. We have the ability to stream there. But, on your car radio, 89.7.
If you're in the Inland Empire, Orange County area.
89.7. And we have an app on that goes on your phone. So, I can listen when I'm out of town. I guess, you can download from KSGN.com, you can be led to the link to download the app, so it's right there on your phone also.
And personally, if they want to get a hold of you?
Call me at the radio station. Yeah, just call and ask for
That's
Bryan.
awesome.
I'm selling everything.
Oh.
Okay?
Well, thank you so much for being on the
Oh,
air with
man.
me, and
This has been a treat.
we had fun. Let's do it again. And also, I want to encourage you guys that we have friends from church. The Roberts. Their 3-year-old Ella, it's just they found out she has leukemia and she's in the hospital. So would you just pray for her, lift the family in prayer, pray for complete healing for her. If you have the time, we appreciate that. And also, if you are not subscribing to the podcast, Laughter for All, I don't know why not. I mean, come on. It's really, we go an hour, we talk about life, we laugh, but we make sure every single show you will get encouraged. You'll hear stories from real people. We're talking about real life here. So if you have friends that you can share on Facebook or Instagram, tell them, hey, to subscribe to the podcast. Laughter for All podcast, and if you don't know, you can go to my website NazarethUSA.com, NazarethUSA.com, and then on the main page there's subscribe to the podcast, or it's on all of them, like the Apple iTunes, on Spotify, and all the podcast outlets. You can do it, and you need to laugh. So laugh more often. Yeah. Find a reason to laugh. Let's have more unity as people, and if you're a Christian, just walk closer with the Lord, because in these times you are a lighthouse to people, and you're not aware of it. So I love you guys. Keep laughing, because if you don't, you're gonna look so old and wrinkly. So those muscles will not be tight until you laugh. I love you guys. Next week it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a different kind of podcast. So tune in next week at 2 p.m. on I don't know if it's going to be Facebook Live or on YouTube Live, but I'll let you know. But we're going to have fun next week. So love you guys. Thank you. Have a great day. God bless.